friend and I were on an all-day hike through some farm country woods outside of town. It had already been about 4 hours and we were contemplating turning back when we noticed a large object in the distance ahead. We were so deep in the woods that anything that stood out at all was eye-catching. So we decided to go check it out and just make whatever it is the turning point back. As we hiked up towards the object, we soon realized that it was nothing more than a beaten down old van. Feeling a bit let down by the lackluster of inspecting a dirty old van, I suggested we just turn back now. But my friend was still enthused. He described the thought of any vehicle that could have somehow made it out this far into the mountainside having a story to tell. After he had talked it up, I admit to feeling slightly curious myself. So we kept going. Once we reached the van, it was every bit of scrap metal I expected it to be. The frame was severely rusted, with every window broken out, and practically nothing left of the bare tires. I was ready to get back to walking as soon as we stopped. That is, until my friend started prying open the sliding door. He struggled with it, clawing his fingertips through the empty window frame and tugging as hard as he could. It barely budged, resulting in a light screech. It wasn't until I lent a hand that together we slid the door open with a loud scraping sound between the rusty door and the carriage inside. The inside of the van was stripped, with the seats up front being all that was left of the interior. Aside from that, it was littered with trash. We both stood in front of it, disappointed, but still unusually interested in the trash pile laid out in front of us. At a second glance, the trash began familiarizing as recognizable items, such as dirty, tattered clothes, gardening and building tools, and a massive pile of photographs near the trunk. But our interest soon fell into disgust as more graphic details started to unfold. The tattered clothes were severely blood-stained and torn apart. Some even looked as if they had bullet holes ripped through them. I quickly moved my hand over my mouth after lifting up some of the clothes and uncovering a rancid smell from the blunt tools underneath. They were caked in chunks of meat and swarming with horseflies. We both continued to plug our noses from the growing stench. There was no doubting that many of what was in front of us had been placed here recently. My friend carefully picked up a gardening pick by the end of its handle for a better look. As soon as he lifted it up, wet blood started to drip off the tip. He immediately hurled it towards the other side of the van, accompanied by a sound of shock and disgust. I didn't need to pick up anything to see what this was. These were murder weapons. This was a van full of incriminating items that would each assumingly lead police to the killer. The only thing left to see were the photos piled in the back. But at this point, I was too afraid to look. I'm afraid I'll see something I'll never be able to unsee. My friend, however, finds the courage, telling me that we can't turn away from this, that we might be able to help. The thought of someone tangled up in whatever tied these photographs to the van only made me feel worse. It felt like peering into the belly of a psychopath. These things were either a hiding place or a trophy room. We lift up the hatch for a regrettably closer look at the stack of photographs. I decide that I can't let him inspect them alone, so I grab a handful as well. They're all as vile as I had anticipated, but with no amount of dark expectations able to prepare my eyes for the gruesome imagery they contained. Countless victims were depicted in positions that were downright evil in nature. I could hear their screams as I flipped through each set. The part that disturbed me the most was the attention to detail. Each injury was documented. The beaten faces were snapped up close, with photos taken both before and after each murder. Even the weapons were captured, with the photographer taking the pictures of what looked to be his own hand holding them. I recognized many of them as items currently sitting in the van. It was all so graphic I had to turn my head away to vomit. I'm hunched over, spitting out the sour taste from my mouth when my friend tells me I need to see something, before showing me a set of photos depicting a mass burial site filled near to the top with bodies. There was no telling how deep the hole was dug, but the width spanned out more than 15 feet around, at least. I took notice on how filthy the bodies were. Some were even missing entire limbs or decapitated. My friend draws my attention to a uniquely crooked tree in the background of the photo, then points over in the distance beyond the van, where the same crooked tree stood. Knowing he wouldn't want to leave without checking it out, I lead the way over to it. On our way there, I'm pessimistic of what we'll find. Then once we get there, the results are fitting. The ground is filthy, with the top layer of bodies poorly covered. Arms and legs protruded up from the loose soil. And something that, even in this horrifying setting, was unexpected happened. One of them moved. We both panic and clumsily stumble over to the arm, stretching out its fingers. We fall to our knees next to it and start scooping off dirt as fast as we can, scraping our fingernails in like shovels. Once we can see the torso and top of the head, we grab the exposed arm with both hands and forcefully tug up, unearthing the live body of a bloody young man, darkened from a submerge in the ground. He's coughing and gasping for air as we fearfully brush the dirt off of him. He throws his arms out to push us away while attempting to speak through his intense coughing. We back up and let him speak, finally letting out his raspy message. This is a trap. His coughing intensifies between the words before he finishes with saying, "The van is here to lure you in." His coughing gets out of hand as he rolls over to let it all out. We look at each other in shock. Then I hear the sound of footsteps close behind us.